You're listening to the Fantasy Football Podcast with Charles Barr and John Chapman.
Here we go with episode 20, dude. That is a special number.
It is because it's divisible by 5, and I don't know why it's a special number, but it makes me happy. It's been a lot of fun doing this little shindig, and we'll see how long it goes, man. We'll just keep it going.
You blew my mind with the whole number thing. I didn't know you were going to get into division. Anyways, teacher. Let's start out with something I need to just come to terms with right now. A loss. Yeah, it's going to happen. So let me recap real quick. So we made a bet I'm not happy about. Okay?
Oh, I'm so happy about. And this was a roller coaster.
Yes, it was. Okay, so the bet is that Sammy Watkins would have no more than 4 catches. I said he would have over. John said he would have under. And then in the midst of this bet, like the day after we make the bet, Janoris Jenkins gets suspended. 10 games?
Man, I don't know how. No, we don't know how long it is.
Okay.
But yeah, he's suspended of the game. And so the rumors were out he was going to shadow Sammy Watkins. Then he gets suspended. And so we're thinking, oh man, like this is awful. Charles even talked trash on Twitter, which, I felt terrible. So how many catches? I don't even remember. I forget how to count that high. How many catches did Sammy Watkins get?
Now 1, but here's the thing.
He got 1 catch.
For 57 yards for a touchdown. Okay.
Yeah, so the 1 catch, 67 yards and a touchdown, which I started him in a few fantasy leagues, and I'm so happy. But, man, only 2 targets. I don't know what the deal is. They put up 51 points, and that's without Sammy Watkins. Like, he's out there. They're not looking his way.
Yeah, it's disappointing, definitely, as a fantasy owner. I was lucky enough to start him, though, randomly because of an injury, and I got that touchdown. But here's the deal, folks. So tomorrow, I'm going to tweet out a YouTube live link.
Oh, I'm so excited about this.
I'm going to, I don't know if I want to say shove or insert. Both sound dirty. I'm going to shove 10 warheads into my mouth, and I'm going to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Out of respect for the Houston Astros.
Yeah, props to them. I definitely was not rooting for them. I recently moved to L.A. Not that I'm an L.A. fan, but it was kind of fun being a part of the little shindig that was going on here. So props to them, but I cannot wait for you to shove 10 things in your mouth and sing. That just sounds wonderful.
Any connection to the Astros winning the World Series and Deshaun Watson just being out during the middle of the week?
Gosh, man. That happened... Right, I mean, just you go from ultimate high to low, and it was like the next day. God, that sucks. I love Deshaun Watson. Huge draft crush on that guy for a long time. He's going to come back, but the rest of the team, fantasy value, is gone.
So, transitioning into news here, there was a great UFC card this weekend with TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. So many great fights, but... What was amazing is the day after that great card, there were better fights.
It didn't stop.
Not better, sorry. There were really cool fights, and AJ Green, man, he got into it. So tell us a little bit about that spat.
Man, if you watched it, so first off, Jalen Ramsey is amazing. He's absolutely incredible, and he's a total D-bag. And I mean that in the greatest sense. So if Jalen, you're listening to this, props to you. He gets into every single receiver's head, and it's a mind game. It's not enough to hold him without catches or anything like that. It's to totally just get in their head. Now, he was playing great. AJ Green had 2 targets, 1 catch for 6 yards before it happened. And you just see AJ just had his hand on Jalen Ramsey. It was a run and play way away. And then AJ just flipped a switch and went full crazy. And he got shoved down by Jalen Ramsey away from the play. No ref saw it. And you see the second that he broke. Because AJ stands up and is staring at him, and then just gets right behind him, straight sleeper chokehold body slam, and started punching him in the helmet. Which
now I'll say it was cool, but it wasn't as cool as when Andre Johnson snapped off at Cortland Finnegan. That was
great.
Cool.
That was great. Again, and it's funny you bring up Cortland Finnegan because it's the exact same situation. Cortland's main thing, and he even said this in a conference, he's like, it's not enough for me to hold you without a catch. I want you to hate my family. Like, that's just what it's about. Like, get in their head and piss them off, always jarring, willing to fight at any moment. It's that Steve Smith mentality. And, man, it was wonderful. Now, what's crazy is A.J. Green did not get suspended. So he was kicked out of the game. They both were. And I really thought A.J. was going to be suspended because he threw like 3 punches, body slam, rear naked choke, you name it. He basically almost got him in an arm bar. But somebody else did get suspended. Guess who that is?
Well, and yeah, it's been a rough week for the Bucks. I mean, hide your kids, hide your wives, hide your crab legs.
I like that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so Mike Evans gets suspended, and his buddy's going to probably be joining him. Not suspended, but out. This is a twofer. So Jameis is out for the next 2 weeks, and Mike Evans is suspended. And what doesn't make sense is when you look at what Mike Evans did and what A.J. Green did, how's A.J. not also suspended?
So I think the problem is that if Mike Evans would have been kicked out of the game, which he should have, you run full speed and spear somebody in the back like that. I'm trying to filter myself. You are a baby. Like, you are a coward, especially somebody that's a lot smaller than you, like Marshawn Lattimore.
Hold on. I got a response to that.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's go back to why it started first off. So first off, you probably have the most, I almost said most unintelligent, which is perfect time. I'm just going to stay with that. It doesn't make any sense, but it fits. The most unintelligent person in the entire NFL, and that's Jameis Winston. If you watch his pregame speech, if you've seen him talk to little kids, if you've seen him talk to co-eds, if you've seen him do anything, the guy's an absolute moron if you watch any Hard Knocks. So he's out with an injury. He doesn't even have his helmet on. And he comes out onto the field and points like a 5-year-old and like literally puts his finger in the back of Marshawn Lattimore's head and starts poking him in the helmet on the field of play. He has a headset on.
I got a response to this.
Okay, go ahead.
There is a scenario in
Notice that Charles Barr is a gigantic Florida State fan. Sorry, has nothing to do with this next statement. Go ahead.
Okay, and I hate Jameis, so whatever. But there is a scenario in which Mike Evans didn't see all that play out. He just saw a guy lash out at his injured quarterback, and he retaliated. Now, is he dumb? Yes, he shouldn't have done that.
Again, when you say lash out, you mean push with one hand, flat-footed, on the field of play? Then yes, you are correct.
I mean, let's not get all into technicalities.
So I love standing up for your quarterback, and I think you're right. You need to blame Jameis more than anybody here.
Right.
But you run full speed and spear somebody in the back that's standing there, like you're a poon. Like I absolutely despise. You are a coward. You represent all the things that I hate. And so that bothers the hell out of me. I'm glad he got suspended. And having talk about that, that brings us into who's going to step in, because now you got Jameis out. Now you've got freaking Mike Evans out. Chris Godwin is a solid play this week and this week only. He's the rookie out of Penn State, absolutely talented. He's going to be starting, and he's going to get over 80% of the snaps and targets. I love both tight ends also in this game. Like, there's going to be some play there, so just keep that in mind.
I also think, too, if memory serves me correct, that Fitzpatrick, he accesses the tight end quite often. So
everybody, even the defense, like, he accesses everybody because he throws the ball to all of the wrong people.
All right, so Bucks are in trouble. Jameis is out for a while. He's an idiot. Mike Evans is suspended 1 game. Goodbye, Bucks. Your playoffs were already gone.
Not even just him. Doug Martin. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Doug Martin gets benched in the middle of the game. Like,
Yikes.
Who saw that coming?
Not me. They're done, and here's the question. I know we got to move on, but I said this the past few podcasts. If you're starting all over again, who you starting with, da-da-da-da. But do the Bucks address QB?
I don't think you can. If Dirk Cutter is on the hot seat, and they basically promoted him over Lovie Smith while Lovie was there for the sole purpose of developing this quarterback. And it has not gone well this year. They put weapons around. They spin on Deshaun Jackson and all those things. And as soon as you get rid of your quarterback, you've gotten rid of why you got the job. I think if they want to do that, or if he proposes that, I think you get a new head coach.
I honestly think that Jameis Winston has proven to me so far in his career that he's not an NFL quarterback mentally. He's an NFL quarterback in every other way, maybe not leadership, but not mentally. He doesn't know the down and distance, okay? He admitted that in Hard Knocks. It was amazing. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. Okay, moving on.
Very good.
Dez Bryant, ankle and knee injury, day to day. Oh, D's.
Man, he's played... He's boomer bust. He's basically Ted Ginn. Like, he's completely relying on touchdowns, but without speed. He's much more of a deep zone guy. Now, here's the thing I will say, is there is a lot of potential there for Dez Bryant, especially if Ezekiel Elliott gets suspended, which, please God, suspend this guy. Let's set some kind of tone. But Dez Bryant has just vastly underperformed. He has played terrible, and it's not just his ankle, it's his knee as well. Like, he's got a knee and an ankle issue. So I would definitely not be surprised if he misses 1 or 2 games. But yeah, what's going to happen here? Now, what do you want to do with the rest of the Cowboys? It doesn't really hurt Dak too much, but it does promote Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams had a phenomenal game. And as soon as Dez went out, it got better and better and better for Terrence Williams. And he's got a couple favorable matchups going forward. So love that guy. We'll see what happens with Dez, though, because I think he's going to be out this week.
Really?
I do. I think that he might be out. He didn't practice today. They're saying day-to-day, but that knee and ankle, and, man, I'm going to butcher this. One of the fantasy guys I follow on Twitter is Dr. Goodness. I'm going to mess it up. I want to give him credit, but I can't do it. And he goes through and breaks down all of these fantasy injuries. It's David J. Chow, MD. He's known as the Pro Football Doc, and if he is awesome. Follow on Twitter. He goes through and breaks down the film. He's an actual doctor. He was a doctor, used to be for the Saints, so on and so forth. But anyway, definitely he believes that it's a lot more serious than it looked, and he might be out for some time, so I'm going to go with that guy.
You know who else is a good Twitter follower, and I think he's part of your Eat Sleep crew, is Nate Hamilton.
I don't think he is, but he retweets a lot of our stuff. Maybe he is, and I don't know him. I just write for him. No,
he put out one today for he put out more Game of Thrones, and it says shame, shame, shame. It's got like LaShawn
yes.
McCoy
great
and all
follow.
These guys.
Yeah.
Yes, great follow. All right, Eddie Lacy. Who the hell cares? Let's move on. Josh Gordon reinstated. The only thing that Josh Gordon really matters is in Madden. Let me just be honest with you. Like, maybe on Madden you're like, yes, I want a guy who's athletic I can throw to. I don't believe in this guy. Do you believe in him? And what's up with this GQ interview?
So, go read the GQ interview. Not necessarily for football purposes, but he basically says that I've never played a game where I wasn't under the influence of drugs or alcohol. And that's going all the way back to my time at Baylor. Like, he was either high. He said he would do shots before warm-up or other things, and he would just go out and play. Like, that's just who he was. He talks about how he got around not very well, all of the drug tests, and as soon as he passed a drug test, he would go do everything in his mind because he knew he had like 1 to 2 days to get clean, so on and so forth. So absolutely just phenomenal read just to look at it. Now, having said that, he is worth a flyer. The waiver wire, this is the point of the season where, barring an injury, you're not getting a lot of development. Now, there's still plays to be had there, but anytime you can find a home run play, then you go do that. If you're in a deeper league or you're in the top 4 of your fantasy standings, you're playing for a championship now. You positioned yourself well, and if you have an empty spot, go get him. He's probably already been picked up in your league. But this is somebody I want to hold on to. Now, here is the problem. It's been a year and a half since he's played, but if you have seen the pictures, the dude is unreal jacked. He's unreal. And I would love to take a flyer on this guy. Now, I would not start him the very first week, but if he produces in his first week back, then you've got basically somebody that can win you a championship. Now, worst comes to worst is you pick him up and you stash him for 4 weeks, and then he comes back and does nothing. You drop him. You lost a bench spot. Best case scenario, he comes back and he's just somewhat like his old self.
Yeah, I just gotta disagree with taking a flyer on when there's so many other guys out there. I don't know.
It depends on your league settings, right? If you're in a standard 12-team league, I probably would not. Let somebody else do it. But if you have a spot, if you've got something there and you're in a deep league, I have no problem with it.
Okay, so let me put you on the spot. Corey Coleman or Gordon, who do you take?
If you are struggling to make the playoffs, Corey Coleman. If you have locked up your spot and you're fighting for a first or second seed for that bye week, Josh Gordon.
Okay, all right. Let's move on.
It's all about fantasy situation. And that's the thing. You can sit here and say, add this guy, drop this guy. It completely depends. We don't know what your situation is. And it's been pretty cool. I've gotten a ridiculous amount of messages on Twitter lately, which is wonderful. Thank you guys for sending those out. Do I do this? Do I do that? And I'll usually ask questions. Like, it's never black and white. You've got to make sure that you understand the situation, league settings, scoring format, how many teams, so on and so forth. So, anyway.
Yeah. Real quick about Josh Gordon in the GQ interview. Two things. It's two ways. He's either a substance abuser and he's unreliable, or he's a liar. And I don't
Why
know.
not both? Why can't he be both?
He could be both. Well, if he's lying about
Why
how
you
much
got to limit his potential?
I don't know. He's limited his own potential. He's been suspended twice. Anyways, welcome back to the Browns. Okay, Jeremy Curley suspended for 4 games.
So
Ouch.
This is not major fantasy relevant as far as Jeremy Curley goes. What this is relevant with, and that is the wonderful Robbie Anderson.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy is putting together quite the season. Josh McCown as a QB has been phenomenal. It's been so fun to watch. But this makes Robbie Anderson even more valuable. The last 4 weeks, Robbie Anderson is a top 8 wide receiver. 4 weeks. Double-digit fantasy, 4 weeks straight. And that could actually go up. Like, they're just airing the ball out, and they don't really care. They're playing awesome backyard football, and it's kind of fun to watch. Like, when was the last time you could say the Jets were a legit fun team to watch?
Oh, they are. And right now, like, that's one of the teams I'm keyed in on. That defense has the potential to be a dynasty defense. I know it's a bit early. People are like, look around that defense. Jamal Adams is playing like somebody who's been in the league for a while. He's making plays. He's physical.
He is. Both those titans. Marcus May as well. I mean, I don't know any team that goes back-to-back strong safety in the first and second round. But, hey, it's working out for him. So you got to give him that. But, man, again, let's just jump back real quick to Robbie Anderson. I mean, he's on pace for over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's what he's on pace for.
Listen, he's been on basically every Fantasy Kings card that I could get my hands on because he's a low buy for sure.
Stay with it.
All right, let's go. Here we are, man. You're in the midst of your season. We're in the tail end. You're some of you who are in 4-4, or you're just a little bit out of it. 3-5. If you win out, you're in. You're going to win some money. Remember, it's all about making the playoffs.
After that, it's a crapshoot. You get to the playoffs. That's your one goal, which usually playoffs start after week 13. So 7-6 is usually the cutoff. Now, deeper leagues, 14 teams, all that stuff kind of changes. But usually, if you get to 8 wins, you're in. Almost all formats. If you take 50%, if you're in a 12-team league and you take 6, so on and so forth, that eighth win is key.
Yep. So what we're saying here is don't give up. Don't be foolish. Don't trade away your team. And let's pay attention to the waiver wire. Here we go, John. Take us through Josh McCown and why we should take a fly on this guy.
Josh McCown's awesome. I mean, first off, he needs to be owned in all formats. He's only owned in 35% of leagues, which is absolutely ridiculous whenever you see what he's put up. I mean, his lowest scoring out point the last 6 weeks is 13 points. So, and he's at Tampa Bay, which gives up like the top 3 points to fantasy quarterbacks. Go get this guy right now. He's a perfect bye week fill-in. And there's a lot of teams on bye. Yeah, Kansas City, Oakland, Philly, and Baltimore, which that's 3 quarterbacks that should be started in all leagues. So Carson Wentz, Derek Carr, and Alex Smith. So that's 3 guys that are out. And having said that, we're going to talk a little bit about in-season strategy. But let me just key you in. We're just going to do a little tidbit right now. Let's say you're playing against a team in your upcoming week that has only one quarterback, and that's Carson Wentz. Go pick up Josh McCown right now. Even if you have a quarterback, if you have anybody on your roster that you could drop and it doesn't hurt you, go pick up Josh McCown and make him start somebody else like Jay Cutler. Make him start somebody else that's just, Trevor Siemian if he comes back or so on and so forth. So outthink your opponent if you have a guy. Now, I'm not saying like drop Matt Forte or CJ Anderson. If you have somebody that you just took a flyer on and they didn't pan out, then go ahead and drop them.
And we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that in-season strategy. Okay, I'm just going to go through a few guys, and you're going to tell me a little bit about why to go get them, okay? About what their ceiling is, these kinds of things. So, Danny Woodhead.
2 weeks out, could be a fantasy winner. I understand that offense is terrible, but they check down. It's possible Danny Woodhead could come back and get 7 catches a game for the remainder of the season because it's check down, check down, check down. Again, it's 2 weeks out, but the waiver market's drying up. 24% of leagues he's owned in. Go get this guy.
Man, I'm not sure about Thomas Rawls. Do I want anything to do with a Seattle run game?
No, but, and here is the exception. It is a short week, and Eddie Lacy might be out on Thursday. If Eddie Lacy is out, then for 1 week and 1 week only, Thomas Rawls is almost a must start because you got to get him in there. They're playing Arizona, and it's a short week, and they're going to run the ball. So this is a 1 week exemption, then drop all Seattle players, like running backs. So this week and this week only if Lacy's out. If Lacy plays, forget what we just said.
Quick note, weird thing that happened is that they had to amend that trade between the Texans and Seattle. Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah, Bobby Lane didn't pass his physical, so they sent him back, and they basically changed the terms, but everybody seemed happy with what happened. The Houston owner just wanted to get rid of somebody that protested and wanted to get paid for what he's actually done in the past. But hey, it's what it is.
It is what it is. We already talked about Chris Godwin.
Yep, 1
Corey
week only fill-in for Mike Evans. Go get him.
All right, so here's a name, guys. Pay attention. If not this season, next season. Remember this name, D.D. Westbrook.
Oh, go get him. Go get him, go get him, go get him. And the main reason why is because Jacksonville, he's coming off the IR. He's an absolute idiot, but he is a rookie with huge big play potential, and he will be the starting wide receiver the second he steps up. And he is a boom player. Very similar to Josh Gordon. He is a home run threat waiting to happen that can run routes and catch passes. Dynasty leagues, he's already owned for sure, but go get him if you can.
I like him on the sweep, too. Running some kind of sweep action.
I mean, if you watched OU play back in the day, I mean, he was the Blitnikoff Award winner. He's Heisman finalist as a receiver. He's a big play machine. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a player.
We already touched on Terrence Williams. Now, here's a name, though, that finally has lived up to its potential. Jared Cook. How long have we been talking about this guy being fantasy relevant?
How many different teams did it take to get to this point? If you watched the game last night, he was just phenomenal. Absolutely played balled out. Now, the thing is, he's owned in about 60% of leagues, but the chance that he is out there, go and get him. Because he's on a bye, so pay attention. He might get dropped. But here's the deal. New England, Denver, Giants. Those are the four. They're all in the bottom 4 as far as most fantasy points given up. So, just understand. Again, bye week fill-in. He might get dropped. He might be out there. Take him now. You are getting him for the future. Absolute huge pickup. He put up 8 catches, 126 yards. That's pretty special.
Can I just say something that I think is fantasy relevant, and it is on the fly, okay? But I think you're going to love it.
All right, let's go.
I think that what's so interesting, you just named the Giants, and I thought about the Broncos this week, that these are two teams that have insane talent and depth on the defensive side. That when you look at them should be people who are like, ooh, stay away from them as a defense. But what I want to say is that attitude and perseverance and leadership, when they lack, it all goes away. And so now you got the Giants who you're not shying away from. But before the season started, you wouldn't dare want to start your offense against them.
Yeah, and that it's completely gone with suspensions, injuries.
Yep.
It's just, and whenever you don't have the offense, that's the thing. It's so demoralizing to be a defensive coach and or player when you finally hold an offense to a 3-and-out or whatever. You run over to the sidelines, you guys start going over stuff, and then you hear, punt team, get ready. Like after 3 plays. What? We just went 3-and-out again? What? We just gave up a sack? What? We just threw an interception? And whenever that happens in the New York Giants offense is so inept, it just tears you down. It's just constantly this feeling of, oh, fuck, here we go again. And it wears on you. And that's where they're at. I mean, they're 1-7. Oh.
Awful. And then I saw it in the Broncos game with the Eagles. I'm like, whoa, like where and they just looked not tired. They looked frustrated, like they didn't want to be on the field.
Yeah.
51 points. Okay, so Charles Clay out 2 weeks. That hurts John Soul. That's one of his favorite guys. I swear he talks to him all the time.
I think he could play this week, but I think it's more 2 weeks out. Even if he does play this week, I might be a little hesitant. But, I mean, this guy, once he comes back, top 5 tight end. He's a top 5 tight end.
We talked about this guy last time on the podcast, Adam Shaheen.
Oh, I told you to get him last week. He's still out there unowned. Zach Miller is out. They're coming off a bye week. This guy is going to be heavily used. Mitch Trubisky throws to the tight end. This guy is Benjamin Watson target share with upside. Wow. So he's a freak athlete. He was waiting on Zach Miller to get out of the way. He got injured. And go get this guy. Oh my gosh, if you don't have a tight end, he is going to be phenomenal.
Fantasy game of the week. Okay, check this out, man. I got to choose this game. I'm so happy when John let me choose this game.
That's such a funny statement.
It's so true. And I'm looking through. There's some great games this week. There are. Last week, This week, yes. I really like the Bills versus the Saints. It's at. I think it's at the Saints, right? No. It's in Buffalo. It's in Buffalo.
It is. It's an early game at Buffalo. It's going to be a little chilly. So tell me why you like this, because this is interesting to me.
Well, because I love surprise teams, and the Saints are kind of a surprise team. We kind of had them going last in our predictions. I believe both of us did.
We did 6-2. Basically, if the season ended today, they would have the 31st pick. Now, I know it goes by playoff, but as far as strength of schedule and record, they are number 2 in the entire NFL behind of your Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, props to the Saints. I don't think that's what Eagles do, but that's awesome.
I tried. So the Bills, you're in Buffalo. It's chilly, and here's the reason I like it. Number one, this Saints secondary is starting to be something dirty. Okay, it's starting to play awesome. The Saints defense is surprising people, and then you got Buffalo, and they just play tough. And I got a secret man crush on Sean McDermott because he was trained by my favorite defensive coordinator, Jim Johnson. So much love for him, and I want to see McCoy do well. So tell us a little bit about the fantasy implications for this game, John.
So one, I'll tell you this: the Bills' defense is legit and might be the best in the entire NFL. So if you want to see how great the Saints truly are this week, this is the ultimate measuring stick. Now, what's crazy is Drew Brees' stats are down fantasy-wise compared to what he usually does. And the main reason for that is those running backs. They are putting up exceptional numbers. And Kamara is top 5 running back rest of season. Like, if I'm redrafting right now, like, I'm taking him with, like, the 7th or 8th pick. Maybe higher. And because the problem is, you also have Mark Ingram, who is incredibly relevant. I mean, they are both producing. That offensive line is firing on all cylinders. And the receivers, it doesn't matter who he throws it to. Willie Snead is irrelevant. They'll throw it to anybody besides Willie Snead. He's droppable in all leagues. But now let's go to the other side. I could not love Tyrod Taylor more rest of season. Yeah. He has the best fantasy schedule. He's got 4 top 5 matchups in his next 7 games. And, I mean, just go get this guy. I don't think Clay will be back. I want to see how Kelvin Benjamin's going to do. And I think he's going to do great. Because Tyrod extends the play just like Cam does, except he's accurate. I love Tyrod Taylor rest of the season. I think Shady's going to be okay. He'll definitely have a much better game. But this is going to be a fun game, and it's fun just from an NFL standpoint because we're going to see how good the Saints are. They're at the Bills is a tough game, especially this late for a dome team. Drew Brees hasn't fared well outside, so let's see how it goes. We're going to figure out how great they really are.
Yeah, these are two juggernauts squaring off.
And who would have said that about the Bills after they sold off everybody?
Dude, they look awesome.
Here's what's great, though. You sell off all these assets, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, wait a second. We're kind of good at football. We're 5-3. Okay, well, let's go buy some people then. And so let's sell some of these draft picks that we've been accumulating. And they went and got Kelvin Benjamin on the cheap. So props to them. I thought they were basically done with the year, and then they go 5-3.
You want to see some exotic defensive play calling? Watch the Bills.
So
it
fun,
is
man.
Beautiful to see. They do this one play where it's a variation. It just reminds me when Jeremiah Trotter would do it. They send a middle linebacker just to punch the center in the face. That's all his whole job. Just punch him in the face. And then the blitz just comes from all different angles. And they're zoned here. They're manned up here. It's a very difficult defense to mess with. So I could see Drew Brees having a little bit of trouble in that chilly weather.
I could too. It's going to be a fun game. I really hope that it gets flexed, and it's going to be the game of the week for Fox in the early slate. I hope it is. Depending on where you live, it should be on.
Yeah, okay, so before we get to our last segment, again, hitting you on the fly, John, because this is interesting to me.
Oh, I love this stuff.
I'm going to make you GM for a second.
Okay.
And we've done this game.
This is my dream. This is my dream.
This is John's dream. We've done this in phone conversations for 10 years. But here's the thing. You are the GM in two different alternate universes. You're the GM of the Panthers and you're the GM of the Bucks.
Okay.
How are you viewing your quarterback, and what are you going to do?
Cam Newton I'm okay with. We've seen him do it, and we've seen if you build a defense and a solid running game, you're going to be okay. If I'm the Bucks, I think you're screwed. I think you still got to stay with Jameis. He's still very young. But I would not put Jameis probably in the top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL moving forward. Maybe right at that 20 number.
I'll tell you what. I'd trade him in a minute. I wouldn't even hesitate.
But what could you get? If you get a second rounder, you do it?
Second rounder? I'm going to take a first rounder, and, some team's going to be thankful.
Man, as a 49ers fan with no quarterback, we got Jimmy now. I would not trade a second. I would not trade a third. I would just say no thank you. I would not want him. That guy, I don't want to be around him. I feel like everybody's IQ goes down the moment he steps in a room.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to enter this last segment here, and it's interesting. It's different than anything we've ever done. So a listener told me a story, and here's how it goes. And we just want to legitimize a part of fantasy football for a second.
All right. I don't know where this is going. I'm excited.
They saw somebody they were playing, their tight end, go out, Zach Ertz. Okay, he went out.
So the guy's tight end, he had Zach Ertz, or the guy?
No. The guy he's playing.
Okay, gotcha.
And then all of a sudden, boom! Bleacher Report comes up on his phone, says Zach Ertz is out, and he immediately went and picked up the Eagles' backup tight end. And some people, John, say that is shady and cheating, and some people say that is a fundamental part of fantasy football. What say you?
So let's look at this from just an NFL standpoint first off. Anytime the 49ers have ever waived a player, guess which damn team picks them up every single time? The Seattle Seahawks. Now, why is that? Is that because our roster is just so talented that whenever we cut somebody, the Seahawks are like, oh, this guy's going to make us better? No.
Nope.
Because as soon as they bring him over, they grill him on the playbook, responsibilities, read options, and they even send him to those meetings. Like for the opposing side. He's not there to play. You are a spy. If it works in the NFL, this is fake football we're talking about. You go sign that player. You do whatever gives you the best chance to win. And if that's stonewalling the other guy, you do it with a smile on your face. I would go further, and I'd offer him as a trade.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. Well, here's the thing, and I don't get it when people complain and they whine. They go, "Oh, that's messed up, man. I was gonna get him." Like, too bad, dude.
Yeah, take your participation trophy and get the hell out of here.
Seriously. Just
not welcome.
You're not playing fantasy football with Bernie Sanders, man. All right. Anyways,
I love Bernie.
So do I. I don't know why. I don't know. I was just reading to him. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's probably picky about his food. Anyways, I could just see that being a thing. I don't know.
Please disregard that last comment.
There's no. That's an observation. Anyways.
I'm not editing that out. His name is Charles Barr. You could reach him at host Chuck B.
Probably, I don't know, picky. All right. So basically what we want to say is that for anybody who's in a fantasy football league, and that's something that you've hesitated to do or it's happened to you, it's fair game. All is fair in love and war.
I agree. And
Same
so
with fantasy.
A couple things, as we're getting later in this year, this is where you start to basically some in-season strategy that will help you maybe win a game, grab a point here or there. Number one, and this is something that I see missed so often, whenever you have somebody playing in an early game or an early lineup, you move those players to your starting position, which I mean is get them out of your flex position. So, for example, the Thursday night game this week, let me pull up just to make sure, is Seattle at Arizona. So if you have anybody in your starting lineup that plays for Seattle or Arizona, move them out of your flex. And here's why. Let's say, for example, last week you had Fournette as your starting running back, and you had somebody playing in the Thursday night game as your flex. Well, that's what makes sense until an hour before the game, and they announced Leonard Fournette's not playing because he missed a rule, and Tom Coughlin's a dick. Well, now you can only replace that guy with a running back. Whereas opposed, if you would have had him in your flex, you could have put a receiver in or a running back. It's this little bitty thing that gives you so much more leeway in those dark moments 20 minutes before kickoff. And so you got to give yourselves as many options as possible. And I do the same thing with early game Sunday as opposed to late games and Monday night. So it's not that you put your RB1 in the RB spot, RB2 and RB2, RB3 in the flex spot. You go by the time of their kickoff because everybody's positions lock, your lineup locks at kickoff. So that's just a very simple way just to maneuver yourself and give you flexibility in those doomsday scenarios.
John Howard, just real quick, a little update for the people. How are you doing in fantasy this year?
So started off terrible, and I've been clawing my way back. So I am over 500 in every league except for one. Of course, that's my big money league, but that's okay. We're doing okay. And so I'm clawing my way back, and we will see where this week ends up. There's a game going on right now that a couple games hinge on. But I'm going to be making the playoffs in more than one, in the majority of my leagues, even though I drafted David Johnson. In my Dynasty League, where I have David Johnson and Odell Beckham, I am still going to make the playoffs. And it was all off of just waiver wire additions and some smart trades that took place. So not that I'm like dominated everything, because it's just not the truth. You can't. In fantasy football, it's not just, I'm going to win after the draft. Things have to go your way. That's just what it is. And sometimes it doesn't. And you try to mitigate risk and go back. So that's where I would put it.
It's been a really special fantasy football year for me in particular, just because my Eagles have been doing well. And everybody's like, oh, you're a homer drafting Carson Wentz in the 19th round. Worked out for me, didn't it?
It did, man. Sometimes being a homer pays off. How are you doing in fantasy, man? You're dominating.
Yeah, I'm doing well. So I'm 6-2, 5-3, 5-3. So awesome. I'm on my way. And so anyways, but the best part is, actually I'm 6-2 in 2 leagues. The best part is that I am just straight up owning my brother-in-law's league. Like, no, John, listen. Like, it's insane. Okay, so points for? I'm 250 points ahead of anybody else in the whole league.
That's awesome.
And the best part is that, like, I'm better than you, Jason. I hope you're listening to this podcast. I'm better than you at fantasy football.
This is why we play. This is why you spend the hours listening and doing waiver wire claims on Tuesday. This is why you do it.
I'm better than you.
A couple things that I want to talk about. A couple more things. Waiver wire, it's starting to dry up. So outside of injury, there's not going to be huge pickups. So again, you want to start looking 2 weeks out. Pay attention to your bye weeks. And so we're going into week 10. So you need to be looking at week 11 to see if you're going to have too many wide receivers out, so on and so forth. Week 12, same thing. And then it's also time to cherry pick those last place teams. It is the time to start offering trades saying, hey, you need depth, I need studs. This is where you offer kind of lower guys and just see. Now, usually they don't come back, but it's that one time, hey, you remember that one time where so-and-so gave up this? Oh, what an idiot. Like, these are those moments. So take advantage of those and give yourself an opportunity. Now, I'm not trying to don't send out stupid trades. Send out starting points for negotiation. And you can put that in the comments. Hey, let me know what you think. Let's move forward with something like this. This will help both of us out. You always got to send trades that help everybody out.
Yeah. John's strategy, it's a bit aggressive at times, but it does work.
It takes time.
It takes time.
I'll send out a trade, okay, that's not necessarily a bad trade. So, for example, I sent out Kareem Hunt for LaShawn McCoy, and I think it was Dez Bryant, okay? Now, obviously, the LaShawn and Dez is more valuable rest of season. But what I'm trying to do is work in something. Well, okay, is this realistic? I'll throw in another wide receiver, somebody on my bench that you want. It's all a negotiation. But if you don't introduce it as, hey, this is a negotiation, tell me what you think. Are you even willing to tolerate this, or so on and so forth? But if the you're people that will just never respond to a trade, and you just got to forget those guys and mark them as, okay, don't send anything to. But you know your guys that are going to deal. And so try to start that conversation up.
So, lastly, just so you know, tomorrow I will be tweeting out the Warheads.
I'm excited, man.
Okay, do we need to make a bet, though? But we didn't talk about it. I mean, do we do a bet for next week?
No, I mean, unless you want to bet on Sammy Watkins again.
No, we'll save it for next week.
Smart man. That is a smart man.
This has been fantasy football. Oh, man.
Thanks for listening, guys. Absolutely awesome week as always. Reach out to us on Twitter if you have any questions about start sit, so on and so forth. JL_Chapman and at host Chuck B. He's amazing. Go give this guy a follow. He doesn't just tweet about fantasy football. He's got funny stuff. He's awesome. Great follow.
Hey, man. Thank you. They're so nice.
All right, guys. Y'all
All right,
take care.
peace.